So I came home and I was like waiting for my dinner to cook,
Mm-hmm.
and I have no clue where Paul's ball was at. I think it like rolled under something. I don't know, but I can't find it. So he started nudging my basketball around.
Oh no.
Um, he wasn't ready for these handles.
He wasn't ready for this. He wasn't ready for it.
Not at all. Like I thought, like at first, the way he was trying to play, like I figured he was going to be a menace on defense, but absolutely not.
As soon as you started bouncing, he started backing down, didn't he?
Exactly.
Yep.
And
River
it's
does
been
the
a
same
while.
thing. She's scared to death when I bounce the ball in the house, like a child again. But like yeah, I'll start bouncing the ball and she'll just get terrified of it. I don't know what it is, but she's like, I'll be like, hey, do you want to play? Do you want to play? Because I'm thinking she will hit the ball out,
Yeah.
try to bounce the ball around or something like that. Nope. Scared to death. Not interested.
So when
Terrified.
we like take them to the dog park together, we'll just stick to the soccer ball. Call it a day.
Yeah, soccer ball might be a safe bet for those two. Definitely where they need to be at.
That's fine. No earbuds in our future. I guess we can handle it.
No, no, not in that case. Poor Airbud, the greatest
Right?
greatest dog generation player of all time.
Hopefully, Kentucky won't need Airbud in this FIBA Global Jam this week.
No, hopefully not. It's gonna be a whole different world up there in Canada. While they're playing a little bit of basketball there, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun time indeed.
Definitely. Hey guys, welcome to the Hoop Southbound podcast. It's Maddie.
Hey, it's David. Maddie is still running the show this week, but she's doing good here on week 2 for her introduction.
Right.
So
Our
yeah,
transition's a little bit better than just thrown together.
yeah, pretty much. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, I'm a little more comfortable. We'll see. I should have put a little special something in my Gatorade. Would have gotten me all good to go.
Oh, some talking personality juice. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That Barbie juice that Avery made for her birthday party.
Yeah, that stuff was potent. Yeah, quite potent for her birthday punch that she made. But you don't need the alcohol. You've got tons of personality, so we're gonna be fine here today. You're gonna be good.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, as we mentioned, Kentucky going to Toronto for the FIBA Global Jam. I guess similar to last year in the Bahamas, their foreign tours, you like to call it. Um, a lot more interesting in the last few months, but we'll talk about that later. Um, you know, People that are interested in some early basketball or seeing Kentucky play early on, get a better feel for them. They are going to start off on the 12th against Team Germany.
Yeah, this is definitely a tournament that I think people should be paying much more close attention to than Kentucky's trips to like the Bahamas or
Mhm.
Arkansas's trip to Europe last year. This is a very different feel. More or less, this is an under 23 tournament, is how the Global Jam is put together. And last year, if you know basketball, last year we saw some great Canadian talent come out and play in the Global Jam, like Marcus Carr, Leonard Miller, and Charles Bediako. All those guys are now in the NBA. So this is a very different trip as far as a lot of these normal foreign tours go. Kentucky's going to go play a lot of high profile talent, and they're going to be representing the United States for this tournament. So there's a little bit of that patriotic feel. And there's a little bit of that NBA talent scouting and watching this next generation of players play basketball. This is a unique tournament in that regards, and I'm really excited about the way this is laid out.
Yeah, I am too. I feel like it has much more feel of, your regular Team USA when everybody's watching the Olympics. You're going to get to see them play, people from other countries. And as we've seen basketball grow, whether that be in Germany or China or Africa, Team Africa's in this as well. I think it's going to give so much more exposure, kind of like we talked about a couple weeks ago, not only to the SEC, but just basketball in general.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this podcast in the summertime or the show during the summertime, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, there's definitely a different feel to this because you're probably a much more hardcore basketball fan compared to people who will come back into the show and start listening more in comparison of late October, November timeframe. This is really a chance for you to get it, not only watch Kentucky, a team that you care about because they're an SEC team, but you're also going to get to check out so much of these younger players that are going to be probably looking for those NBA opportunities. Like I said, I mentioned the guys who came out of Team Canada last year. Let's not forget the African Basketball League. I forget exactly what it's called, but they dominated ESPN for a little while on ESPN Plus last summer. So you got a chance to watch some of them play. And then Germany in that European development style. This is a chance to really take in what the world has to offer at this level of basketball. So if you're a hardcore basketball fan, which several people who listen this time of year are, this is a really good chance to check this stuff out. And it's going to be on TV here in the United States, which we found out on Friday before the weekend kicked off on the CBS Sports Network, which I was really pleased about because pretty much the only place you could watch it was TSN, which is the Canadian equivalent of ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be great. Hopefully, Team Germany hits the floor. We'll see the next Dirk, see the next, I guess if you want to get more current, next maybe Maxi Kleba out there. Same thing for Africa. Maybe we see the next Embiid out there on the floor and get a jump on being a fan early.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a ton of fun in that. Like we've seen so many of these players here in the United States who've also played, like, the guys who come from Africa, like Adama Sanogo, who played for the national championship UConn Huskies last year. You see talents like that come across the U.S. all the time. There's still a ton of talent still in Africa, and they're waiting for their opportunity to get picked up by a pro squad down the road. So it's a really good it's a good opportunity to check out what the game has to offer at this level from around the world. Another thing I'm really excited about, Maddy, just kind of throwing this conversation and keep it rolling. John Calipari. Now, Cal normally, when we go to Bahamas or another international tour, this preseason basketball time of year, he lets the assistants do a lot of the coaching. Like, he takes a real hands-off approach, lets them get some head coaching experience for in-game situations. Not so much here. He said that he might be interested in doing a little bit more hands-on coaching and the head coaching role for the Global Jam. So I'm really interested in that and watching how Cal kind of interacts with this super young team that he has put together.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is almost detrimental at this point for Cal to take that head coaching role as early as possible with, as you said, the young talent, the transfers that are coming in. And, like you have that one staple player in Antonio Reeves that decided to stay at Kentucky. So watching him kind of lead a leader, if you want to call it that, with Antonio, I think is going to be super important in these games to kind of see how this team of transfers and freshmen mesh together.
So you hit on Antonio Reeves. I absolutely love that because Antonio Reeves, we've seen a little bit. He's been a little bit more of a vocal leader since he just announced that he was coming back to Kentucky. And in practices, we've seen him be more vocal, be more physical with the guys, showing them, leading them on the court with his presence. It's a really good sign for the leadership that you're going to be getting out of Antonio Reeves coming into this next season. And I agree, getting Cal in the driver's seat as soon as possible for these young guys definitely gets them a feel how Cal works very early in this process. So that's going to be huge for Kentucky this season. The other reason I like it, and this is an important note, I feel like, with the Global Jam, no matter how the outcome comes out for Kentucky in this tournament, whether they end up playing in the gold medal game at the end of the tournament or the bronze medal game at the end of the tournament, the important thing is for Kentucky to build chemistry, because you have guys who have never played together or have had very little experience outside of some AAU basketball, or in certain cases playing early in their school careers, pre-college, to get those guys some chemistry built up, to get them some opportunity to be together and to play some basketball. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity for Kentucky to start seeing how this team can gel together and who's going to make those connections on the floor, who's going to want to work together, who's going to have these, who's going to know the playbook the fastest, who's going to be a starter out of these young guys. So it's a really good opportunity. It's a good opportunity for DJ Wagner to make his name known. All these young guys. And of course, I was going to mention this in a little bit, and I just waiting for the opportunity, is that Bradshaw is not going to be playing for this in this Global Jam due to injury. So that's important to note. But yeah, I want to see these young guys make those connections and build themselves forward and see who's going to be out there. Like I said, we got Reed Shepherd, DJ Wagner, Justin Edwards, bunch of young guys who are going to be making their name in this tournament.
Definitely. And I think, it's a good transition for these freshmen to get a feel of, the different style of basketball that they're about to be playing.
Yeah, definitely so. And it's going to be exciting. It'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, it's going to be high quality talent throughout, the entire tournament. So that's going to be fun. So this is not a sit back and watch Kentucky kick everybody's butt preseason tournament or foreign tour. This is an opportunity to watch some really good basketball here in the month of July.
Yeah, I think the best analogy I could come up with when I was kind of reviewing this is watching Cal and the team put the pieces of the puzzle together. I feel like he's finally got all the pieces he needs, but they just got to figure out how it works together.
Yeah. So outside of the players, the other side of that I'm really interested in is the assistant coaching. Now, Cal's done a lot of overhaul on his roster, but his coaching staff has had some change as well. You got Chuck Martin, who's going to be coming in from Oregon. You've got some other coaches that we talked about, Welch in the offseason. Yep. So this is their first chance to make that impact in the Calipari system and really show what these guys can do. So we're going to be able to see those outcomes and how they've paid off between those hiring points and now. And then going forward, how the staff is going to continue to improve. Like I said, Welch is supposed to be helping out with the X's and O's on the offensive side of things. It should be really entertaining to see what kind of offense Kentucky's running with him, giving Cal a little bit of a hand with the marker board there on the sidelines.
Yeah, so he can do a little more screaming than usual.
Yeah, a little more screaming. You got to get out there and get in guys' faces. Make sure they're doing the right thing. Being an assistant coach, no, that's the head coach's job is to do the screaming. I've been an assistant coach. You sit on the bench and you're really quiet. That's what happens. And then you go, hey, boss.
I mean, that was my assistant coaching experience. They were like, Maddy just sits down there and does nothing. I was like, yeah, she tells me who to put in and I do it. That's it.
Yep. Like, I know who's been out there for how long. I know what's going on this, on that floor. I'm just very, very quiet because if I start yelling, I'm going to start yelling at refs and then we're going to get in real trouble real fast.
Exactly. I'm just there for moral support at this point.
Exactly.
All right. This Kentucky team has a lot of high caliber talent and a lot of possible one and done. So I think in this next segment about the SEC Summer League, kind of doing some updates, we'll probably be talking a lot about them next season.
Yeah, definitely will. Got some good stuff coming up on the SEC Summer League. Let's hit that up right after the break.
All right, so I'm a baseball guy, and my goal is to actually see a game in every Major League Baseball stadium. Now, I'm more than a third of the way there, and I never buy from the team's websites. SeatGeek is my first stop whenever I'm heading to a new city for a ball game. Now, obviously, they've got some other sports, as well as concert tickets, Broadway, comedy, I mean, you name it. And now, for VSN listeners, they're actually offering you $20 off your first ticket purchase. So just use the code VSN, that stands for Variety Sports Network. So that's VSN to save $20. So put that to use for some food or for some drinks at whatever event you are wanting to attend. Again, that code is VSN to save $20 on your first SeatGeek purchase.
And as always, make sure you guys go out and support our sponsors. As David likes to say, we like cable. We need it to watch basketball so that way we can talk sports with you guys. So we appreciate it. Just make sure and go represent.
She's learning so well. She's got this whole thing figured out at this point. She doesn't even need me anymore. All right,
that's a lie.
Yeah, we were talking about Summer League before the break, so let's pick it up a little bit on that, huh?
So, some exciting news. 2 of the top SEC NBA talent have been considered star players from yesterday. First off, we got Colin Castleton in his game against the Hornets with the Lakers at 21 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists.
Yeah, Colin Castleton, I got a chance to watch him play against Golden State on that on his first night in the Summer League. I was pretty impressed. We knew coming into the draft that Colin Castleton was a player that could make an impact. He was considered, I believe, one of the top 5 in his position. It's just that the reason he doesn't get drafted is because the modern NBA says, no, we don't need center, or it's not a high priority draft pick anymore. The center position's not. But, you get out there, you watch him play, and then, they're out here, they're winning. Castleton impresses again in their win against the Hornets. And the Hornets have not been playing particularly great basketball through the course of these summer games, but there's a lot of talent and the situation's always different. But Colin Castleton has done a really good job, and I've been impressed with his journey so far in his professional development here.
Yeah, for sure. If our listeners have heard anything, I'm not usually a huge fan of Colin Castleton, but I'm glad he's out there getting his buckets, getting his time put in with the Lakers in summer league. So props to him, even if I'm not a fan.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to see that his game has continued to develop past the injuries that he had that ended his season at Florida. So, it's good to see that he's out there. He's mobile. He's working everything that he needs to do. He can catch the ball because it was a hand injury, if I recall properly. But, we saw it in a league camp that he was starting to take a step forward. And immediately he got out there against Golden State and got an assist at one point. He's playing good basketball, and it's good to see that it's translating. All those skills he had as a big man are translating to the league right now. So it's a great place where Colin Castleton is.
For sure. Another star player, Jabari Smith with the Rockets against the Pistons, had 38 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. Now, I know he is a little bit older of a player, not a first-year rookie, but second year for Jabari. I mean, 38 points, like you can't
deny it. You can't
deny that.
You can't deny the kid from Fayetteville, Georgia. Yeah, no, he played great. I was really impressed. Their first game there in the summer league. Did you get a chance to watch the highlights from that?
A little bit.
Yeah, so
it was like when ESPN does the weird thing where they're like, "Oh, here's the highlights," but then it shows you one clip.
Yeah,
I think I was able to like go through 2 of them at work.
Yeah, so the one I'm referring to is where Esom just kind of quarterback throws the basketball in to midcourt. Jabari's like running out there, he catches it, and they've got like 1.5 seconds. He just throws up a 3, and it's yeah. I was like, oh, this is crazy, and he's like running off the court celebrating. It was a good moment, you're showing that what you got. He's looking like the number 3 pick from last year's draft. He's looking like it at this point. He's really showing up that like here in summer league, he's putting up 38 points. He's playing great basketball. He looks like the number 3 pick in last year's draft. He's got that league year, that year of experience under his belt. He's got a lot of things going for him. He's comfortable out there playing at the tempo on the pro game. He's right now showing himself to be one of the minimum boys in the NBA Summer League. And it's really pleasing to see just how much development has occurred and how great of a basketball player he's probably going to be going forward. So I look for big things for Jabari in the future. Can't wait to see him mix in with a couple of guys like, Thompson. And then I believe also the other get for the Rockets was Cam Whitmore from Villanova. Can't wait to see how they get integrated into the Houston system there. It's going to be really fun because Cam Whitmore had a really good game for the Rockets. So he's got some weapons. Houston's going to be interesting to look at on the NBA side, but it's really nice to see an SEC guy starting to show a little bit of star power in the future of this in the future of the NBA.
Yeah, for sure. I think last year, in terms of Jabari, we kind of saw an adjustment period when you adjust from that style of play for the SEC, especially when, you're quote unquote, the big man on campus, kind of going off like, okay, I got everything that I need. You get to the NBA and you get put in your place real quick. Yeah, so I think, that development period of last year really helped him. And obviously he's showing it out now.
Everybody gets a welcome to the league moment. It happens no matter what. But he's come a long way. And, you could definitely see the talent difference. And, it's good to see Jabari going out there representing Auburn, representing the SEC and the level of basketball that we play in this conference, to see him be so successful, especially with so many of these great rookies who are going to be in this class, from this new class that's coming into the NBA. So it's really good stuff. Really pleased to see what he had going on.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the other big names we had talked about throughout the NBA draft and a little bit of last week during Summer League. We got Noah Clowney versus the Knicks, had 8 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. He's starting to show out and, do well in his spot with the Nets. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't. I didn't hear that. I just saw you look out in the distance and I was like, oh, okay, what's going on? Is your dog making noise over there?
Yeah, I don't know. He started running around upstairs and then My bad.
Concerning. You're good. You're carry on. We're good.
We've got Jordan Walsh versus the Wizards, had 12 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists. A guy that a lot of people weren't really sure how he was going to fit into the NBA, really looking strong here. And, against the Heat, really went off with 18 points and had 5 different rebounds. So, I'm excited for Jordan Walsh, excited to see what he's going to bring this season.
My favorite tweet that I saw on Jordan Walsh over the weekend was, if Jordan Walsh starts shooting like this when he gets into the NBA, it's over. Like, it's done.
Right.
He already plays great defense, and here he is hitting buckets. I don't know if it's sustainable. We'll see how good Jordan actually does turn out to be. I'm not doubting the kid. He's a good basketball player. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that, like, yeah, if he can maintain this, that will be amazing. Like, that
Right.
he'll be a great basketball player. So maybe he's a second round steal. We'll see. Very optimistic from what you saw in Summer League from Jordan Walsh.
I think my favorite tweet that I saw was from another Arkansas fan, and they said, "So you're telling me we just didn't have Jordan out shooting far enough?"
Yes, I saw that
Like,
exact thing.
there we go.
Apparently he needs to move back. He's not just to the line. He needs to take a step back.
Right, we should have just had him jacking up threes from the logo.
Exactly.
Another one we put a lot of, I don't want to say pressure, but a lot of attention on, I guess, as we were going into the draft. G.G. Jackson against the Bulls had 9 points, 2 rebounds, getting a solid start. He had a little bit of a slower start, but slowly starting to build. Got Chris Livingston against the Suns, had 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. So getting out there.
Yep.
Kind of proven he maybe should have been a little higher draft pick, but we'll see as the Summer League goes on.
Of course.
And then with the Thunder, I think the most impressive SEC guy that they had in there this week was Trey Mann. 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. He was blowing up all over social media with his high IQ plays, some fantastic reads, and just great player all around.
Come a long way since Florida. Trey Mann looking really good. Had a really good time. Also on that Thunder team, new rookie Casey Wallace from Kentucky. He had a fantastic half court shot that he just sunk. So I was pleased watching him as well. He did really well. We've got a lot of interest in a lot of the things that are happening around here. So it's been fun. OKC loaded up with that SEC talent. Did not see as much of it as we thought we were going to see. But it's been fun to watch Trey Mann and Casey Wallace.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the other side of that, we had the 76ers, Ricky Council with 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. Really starting to show that he definitely should have been a draft pick. Somebody missed out on him.
I was about to say the same thing. He's out there killing it. He's playing great basketball. He has not played a bad game yet, I feel like. If he has, I just didn't catch it. But Ricky Council's absolutely played great enough to where like people are questioning some of their draft picks maybe at this point. Because Ricky looked great. He looked really, really good. Obviously, the thing that still needs to be worked on with Ricky Council is his confidence in his outside shot and the fundamentals there. Like I said, he can be hesitant taking that shot. He's still showing signs of it, but he is showing that he is an NBA talent and should have been a second round draft pick. Someone that was definitely missed out on.
Yeah, for sure. And then one more that I need to get stats on because I don't know how, but I forgot, is the one and only Anthony Black.
Yeah, Anthony Black had a really good game for the Magic in that loss that they had on that first one that I watched. He looked great. Absolutely great.
Yeah, I saw tweets of several people, not only Twitter, Instagram, saw a lot of Facebook too. Granted, I get targeted to a lot of Razorback stuff via Facebook. That's just who I am. But, looking at it,
media.
Yeah. Anthony Black with 17 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, just absolutely killing it. We were actually at lunch. My nephew got baptized on Sunday. So we all went out to family lunch and we were sitting there and I was going through highlights, just kind of watching stuff. And my older nephew, Lucas, was watching them and he was like, "Is that Anthony Black?" I said, "Yeah, it is." He said, "I think I need a jersey."
Yeah, I thought he had a great showing for his first professional debut. Anthony Black, I believe he had like 17 points in that first game. Anthony Black's game is partially that he does still need to develop a 3-point shot. But he showed us everything that it needs to be there as a future star for the Magic. A lot of Magic fans were really impressed with what they saw. Of course, he did have the turnovers, but like I said, this is the first time a lot of these guys have been playing with these other talents. So this isn't the guys that he's going to be playing with when he gets to the league. This is a different feel. This is a different situation entirely. So I was impressed with what Anthony Black saw. A lot of Magic fans were too, from what I saw on social media. They were like, this is the new breed and point guard. We need to build our team around this guy. So I was really happy to see what Anthony Black had to show. Definitely everybody pump the brakes a little bit, as much as everybody was pumped up. He's still going to be a rookie in the NBA next year. So give him a year. And like we can all make a fairer assessment after that. But he looked really good.
I mean, he'll definitely have his welcome to the NBA moment. Unfortunately,
it's gonna come. Everybody gets one.
It's gonna be all over the place. But similar to what we said about Trey Mann, I think we see Anthony Black as a super high IQ player, even for his age. That's only going to develop with time. So I'm excited to see where he goes.
Yeah, high field goal percentage the entire time in that summer league game as well. He was 7 from 10. So it was a really good showing. He also had those 5 rebounds, 5 assists. So he showed all the skills about why people loved him in Arkansas there for the Magic. Game that I want to talk about, and I feel like everybody else wants to talk about this game. Now, like we mentioned earlier, the Hornets have not been playing exactly electric throughout the course of summer league, but I think it's definitely worth the conversation to talk about what we had going down with the Hornets and Spurs game on Friday night. Now, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start here. Nick Smith Jr. Nick Smith Jr. had a decent game. There's still some developments in his shot that he needs to do. He needs to figure out exactly how he, is going to react certain ways. I thought he was doing a great job as a passer. I thought that he needs some work clearly on his shooting right now, to take his game to the next level. I think that'll come. I think it's just, the funk that he's been in post injury.
You got to get back in his rhythm.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. What I will say about the Hornets situation is that roster did not have a true point guard, and Nick Smith Jr. is a combo guard. So as I was texting you while I was watching that game, I was like, if the Hornets are going to have Nick play pure point guard, they've got to do some teaching, because it's not that he is incapable of playing point guard, because I truly believe he is. He played point guard in high school, but in all honesty, he hasn't been a true point guard since high school. He had Anthony Black in Arkansas, who spelled a lot of those minutes. You didn't have Nick carrying the ball. You had Devo and Anthony Black. Those are the real point guards at Arkansas. I mean,
even to that point, you look at a high school point guard and an NBA point guard, and they're
two different things.
Completely different. Mm-hmm. You're going to have, like we've talked about, when you get to the NBA, you're going to have specific developmental coaches, and he's going to be one of those. Like, if they want him to be, like you said, a true point guard, he is going to have to develop that skill.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the intention of the Hornets. I'm hoping the intention of the Hornets is what I was speaking about like a couple of weeks ago after the draft, where I hope the plan is that you teach him point guard well enough to be the number 2 point guard, and you teach him how to be a very good number 2 option on the floor. Like, to me, that would be the best way. And the other thing I like that I saw in Nick Smith Jr. is like I mentioned, he played AAU basketball with Brandon Miller. It did not surprise me that the guy he kept looking for on the floor the entire time out there was like, where's Brandon at? Where's Brandon at? He found Brandon Miller as many times as he possibly could. He tried to make things work with other players. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. One of them made Sports Center for sure, which was Victor Wembanyama's welcome to the NBA moment that came in game 1 of Summer League for him. But that was the assist that Nick threw up. And, when the rest was came crashing down on top of Wemby's head. But I was impressed in that he was confident enough to try to make those plays happen. Yes, the turnovers were there, but I think it's going to be a teaching thing with Nick Smith Jr. to get him more comfortable in that role. But like I said, this Hornet team did not have a true point guard. They have a true point guard on their normal roster. So it's going to be something to develop Nick around, but I think Nick's doing a really decent job of where he's at right now. And I think developing him as a shot guard and is going to be the course forward to really help the Hornets out. And then you want him as that number 2 point guard for his combo guard skills and teach him both those positions pretty well. Now,
definitely
the other side of that Hornet Spurs game that I want to talk about is, of course, we got to see the number 1 draft pick play against the number 2 draft pick.
You could tell they were trying to leave it all on the floor to tell who was more deserving.
It was definitely more interesting than what you might have thought. What I found hilarious is that ESPN the entire time through the course of this game, through the upbringing of this game, you know, to market it and everything like that, is like Victor Wembanyama makes his NBA debut in Summer League. You know, Victor Wembanyama, he's going to be awesome. He's going to blow your mind. He's a generational talent. Victor Wembanyama, Victor Wembanyama, Victor Wembanyama. If you watched the game, which I'm assuming, again, how many much more hardcore basketball fans we have listening to our show during the summertime. If you watched the game, you tell me which guy looked more NBA ready, Brandon Miller or Victor Wembanyama, because one was out there making buckets, doing a really good job every which way he can, slamming the ball down the hoop's throat, and the other one looked like a baby giraffe taking its first steps. So, yeah. Brandon Miller absolutely smoked Victor Wembanyama in that first round of watching them play together. Now, you're welcome to interject if you want to throw any thoughts out here before I keep going on my little spiel.
No, I just want to make sure that we talk about Victor Wembanyama's terrible flop before we transition to our next subject.
Yeah, we'll get there. Which was great to watch. But like, yeah, the other side of that is that I am still a proponent of the way that European basketball players are developed. I like the style. There's plenty of examples across the NBA that the European development style works very well. Do not take my previous comments about the European style of development and thinking that like, oh yeah, no, there's data out there. But what Victor Wembanyama did on that first game was just horrific. Like it was, I was mind boggled on how bad it was. I saw no confidence in the guy. He clearly was gassed playing at this high of level for that long on the court. He just at times had I swear there were moments I didn't think he knew how to set a screen. I was just blown away by that. It was just.
Didn't he get several illegal screen? Or
I don't know if he got an illegal screen call, but like he missed some screens and guys went through him no problem. He got bodied by dudes who were nowhere in the same wheelhouse of his 7'5" frame that he has. We saw Brandon Miller strip him from behind. We saw Nick get one off of him. We saw a lot of guys just picking on him. And it was just he just not have the legs right now to play the NBA game. And there's going to be development. Can he be a superstar? Absolutely. I'm not calling the kid a bust right now. He's 19 years old playing his first professional basketball game. No one's a bust after Summer League. We get time to make that and the jury call later. But like you could tell which guy was NBA ready right now. And that was Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller looked NBA ready in game one.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I feel like you said everything that needs to be said there. So
I try. I mean, like, that and Brandon Miller just, made Victor Wembanyama trip over his own feet, which was absolutely hilarious. And then,
I mean, the best part of that was like, dude, literally, yeah, you got your ankles broken. Why are you grabbing your throat, homie?
Well, Brandon did catch him with an elbow while he was falling down. So it was, that was what it was. He was looking for a foul. And I was like, nah, dude, you tripped him. Like there was no foul. He caught you inadvertently. Like
he got you straight to your butt. And that was that. Like, be embarrassed about it. Take it like a man. You flopped. You fell and just, it was bad. It was a really, really bad moment. All right. I think we need to go to a commercial break here real fast. I'll take this over because I'm the one who's looking at the clock on the call.
You know what I like? I like to be comfortable. I also love representing my favorite sports teams. And in the Clutch, I am able to have the best of both worlds. In the Clutch Apparel is your one-stop shop for all things sports. They have officially licensed gear from all your favorite teams and players from the NHL, MLB, NFL, and more. They have sports classic tees from yesteryear and beyond. Check out their full website in the link down below. When you enter the promo code Variety Sports, you get 10% off everything site-wide. Feel comfortable with your sports apparel and go over to their website now at intheclutch.com. And don't forget to use our code Variety Sports to get 10% off.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for going out, supporting our sponsors. Got to get us some cable, get us some basketball tickets, all the fun things that we require to do this podcast. We're a little time.
I was going to say, by the way, we totally normally have like, hey, coming up after the break, but I looked at the clock and it was like, you have a countdown going on like right now. You better wrap this thing up. I was like, but yeah, so welcome back. We're talking about student sections. So this is Maddie's opportunity. She chose this last week. And
we still got one more. You're missing one, David.
Am I missing one?
You're missing one.
What am I missing?
We got to talk about Kentucky and their comeback from possibly being a bottom feeder team to actually maybe having a chance to compete this season.
Yeah, so Kentucky, obviously, things have improved. Antonio Reeves coming back was a good thing, much significant needed, because you needed a perimeter shooter. You needed someone with some veteran leadership out there. It's a big position get for Kentucky to have Antonio Reeves return. And then also you've got a situation where you've got the guys from West Virginia, that whole situation where now you're able to pick up a transfer from that West Virginia class. There's some development going on for Kentucky to put things together. Trey Mitchell, right? It's been a week. I forgot.
Trey Mitchell.
Trey Mitchell. Thank you. Trey Mitchell coming back or coming to Kentucky is also going to help this Kentucky team out quite a bit. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's just dang lucky that this has all shaked out the way that Cal needed it to ever since the back at the end of May for decision day. Yeah,
exactly. Kind of building the show. It's summer. Obviously, everybody knows not a whole lot's going on. So I was just, racking my brain as to what we could talk about. And, I really started to think about the fact that in May, we really didn't have a whole lot of hope for Cal and what was going to happen over in Kentucky. And then it was just like a snowball effect. You had, like you said, Trey Mitchell coming from Huggins' team, West Virginia. Is that correct? Yep, West Virginia. Yep. And then Antonio Reeves decided to commit again after he said a big push was the talent of the freshmen that were coming in. And then you see a lot of development, like we talked about in our Hoops headlines with Adu Thiero. And there was one other player that had been mentioned, just the growth that they've had over the summer, not only in skills and development, but also they're no longer scrawny freshmen.
No, they're not. There's some development going on. You're right. Thiero was obviously a good situation, seeing how much he's built up there in the offseason, and he's going to make himself a much better target. I believe even Oscar Shibwe said that he was looking forward to what Thiero is going to be able to do for Kentucky. I may have that backwards. It may have been the other sophomore that Kentucky had that Shibwe was talking about. But, Cal's mentioned it about how Thiero's filling out like his father, and he's doing the thing. I love the quotes from Thiero, honestly, about I just eat what they give me, and the secret's a bunch of protein. There's no great secret to it. I'm working out every day and doing what I'm supposed to do, what the trainers are telling me to do. You know what? It's paid out. So we'll see how much he's developed in his basketball game. Obviously, the physicality looks really good. So really, really good situation for Thiero. And like I said, things are shaking out much better than what they were back in just a few months ago. Almost a month. Like, honestly, we're at the beginning of June. We were talking about this at the end of May. So a month and some change. So how things have turned around. And now I can definitely see Kentucky being a top 6 team in the SEC next year. Now, that said, there's still not a particular lot of depth. You still have questions around Bradshaw's injury. Does it turn into a Nick Smith Jr. situation for Kentucky? We'll see how that stuff turns out. But for right now, the good news is that things look better for Kentucky than they did, just like I said, a month and a couple of weeks ago.
Definitely. I think, we're going to get a real taste of it, as we said, in the Global Jam and really see what this team's about. But I have a feeling we may need to reevaluate our power rankings before the season starts if they go off like they're threatening with all this growth and added physicality, added talent to this team.
No, we don't need to do that. No, it's done. It's fine. No, of course we do. Like I said, we called it way too early for a reason. It was the initial impressions that we had after decision day. That's why we put that together. It's like, from right now, this is the way it looks. So now it's going to change. Like Kentucky obviously is going to move up a little bit. So now that things have bounced favorably for them, there's also some things like, Alabama needs to be reassessed. We've got Grant Nelson.
Ole Miss for sure.
Ole Miss needs to be looked at. There's all sorts of stuff that we need to take a look at for how these teams have shaped themselves over the last couple of weeks. And we're definitely, as we get closer, I think the next time we'll do it is probably when we do power rankings, be closer to after some of these forward tours come to an end, because we'll start
August, September.
Do what?
August, September-ish.
Yeah, August, September-ish, because you know why? Because we're going to see a basketball hitting the floor a little bit. So we'll get some ideas about how some of those teams that played over in Europe, for Kentucky playing up in Canada, we'll get an impression about how these teams have worked themselves out. We'll get a better understanding of how they're doing. So we'll revisit those. But yeah, Kentucky's been impressive enough to watch them rise. And I definitely think that's going to be a result. They're going to jump a few teams because they're starting to turn closer into the product that they were advertised back in, January of last year, or January of this year, actually. So it's impressive. It's interesting. I think Kentucky deserves to have another look taken at them. Because things have shaken out favorably.
Yeah.
Very favorably.
Yeah. Like we said, Cal needs to go buy a lottery ticket because he's been lucky.
He's very lucky. He is very lucky. And, like I said, I will push back against that narrative that Cal, did this amazing thing by getting these guys, in there. No, Cal got lucky. Like, let's be very honest about the situation. Cal got lucky, and you know what? Luck's a good thing. And so, like, I'll take being lucky sometimes better than good. So it's favorable. So, yeah.
Exactly. All right, David. I guess we can get into what you were about to shame me of.
You started controversy on the podcast, and now we're going to watch our Twitter blow up for the next I don't know how many days now. This is all your fault.
We got to keep it interesting, okay?
This is all your fault. This is all your fault. I'm just saying, when people get upset about things, this is all your fault. So I want to make that extremely clear.
To be fair, the majority of our followers are fans of our top 5 teams that follow us, so I think they'll be relatively happy. Maybe.
Okay, oh yeah, probably. I got a feeling because basketball is basketball to these schools. For the most part. How are you thinking about doing this? Do you want to read your 5 and then I'll read my 5, or do you want to go 5-5, 4-4, 3-3?
Let's go. First, we'll explain how we came to our conclusions.
Oh, I've got my conclusions written in.
Our ranking. Okay. And then if you want to do like your number 5, my number 5, we'll go back and forth.
Yeah, we can do, my number 5 and your number 5. Okay. Yeah. I'll start because that way you can reveal your number 1 last. Okay. You're in charge of the show right now. So I'll start it out. Last week on the show, when we advertised that we were going to be doing this student section countdown, I told you that this is probably one of the most underrated student sections in the country. So I have them as number 5 on my list, and that is the Mizzou Zoo Crew. Well organized student section. They bring a lot of constant noise into the level of the game, and you gotta love it when they start singing Mr. Brightside like it's karaoke night and they just had about 3 shots of tequila. Nothing but energy and enthusiasm when they sing it. Last year, looking at the results for that environment they built, they were 16-3 last year at home. Their losses were only to Kansas, Texas A&M, and Alabama. That's a really impressive group. They did a great job last year. I was liking what I saw at a Mizzou student section. They were fun to watch. You got Eli Drinkowitz out there dancing up and down, holding the sign in the student section during that Kansas game. It's been a very good student section over the last year, and I think they deserve some respect, even though things have been a little bit down in prior to last year. So I'm giving the Zoo Crew their props. That is a good student section, and I think they're going to bring a lot of energy next year if they can return the same results.
I like that one, David. It's a good pick.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Or for my number 5, we got Tennessee.
Okay, you went Tennessee. Okay,
I went Tennessee number 5. So for the most part, I know I'm probably going to get some hate for that one, but I wanted to kind of go off of. I went over a little bit of research along with, what I've seen from each student section, looked at Twitter followers, a few different things. But one of the big things for me is consistency. Like, yes, they've been a great team the past 2-3 years, but beyond that, did they show up during those tough times?
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe. But Tennessee, had a fantastic home environment this past year before that, because they, have been playing great basketball. So I think big props over at VBA for Tennessee student section getting it done.
I can respect that a lot when you talk about like students showing up when things are bad. Because I was a student, I was an undergrad when Mike Anderson, before Arkansas consistently started making the NCAA tournament under Mike Anderson. I remember going when it was kind of rough at times. We were hoping that things could get us to an NIT at one point. That's when I first started going to college. So those were some rough times. You would go into a game on Wednesday night. It's nothing like Wednesday night right now at Bud Walton.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. It's built up, and you know what? The thing was, those students, like at Arkansas, we all showed up, and it was us and whoever the heck showed up over the age of 30 on a Friday night. But or on a Wednesday night and a Saturday afternoon, but it's a different environment now that, success happens. And so I do like it when student sections show themselves, and they're the ones who carry that program and all that energy. So yeah, I like that. I like that portion of it. My number 4, I went ahead and picked Florida's Rowdy Reptiles. In case you have forgot, in the heyday, Florida has been called the House of Horrors. They have a ton of energy when they get out there. They bring the chomp, they scream their heads off, and they bring every bit of energy that you can ask for. And now that things have kind of gotten on a down end for Florida, coming out of the Mike White years and into the Todd Golden years, there's a little bit of returned optimism. They're still bringing it. We saw them when UConn came to visit, and that game, of course, didn't go the way that Florida wanted it to. But those students showed up, and they had a lot of energy, and they had a lot of fun. It was a good situation. The Florida student section has been really good, and I expect them that they'll keep bringing it for several big games there in Gainesville over the next couple of years.
They were actually my honorable mention. They were on the teeter-totter. Which one's going to go in?
Okay. Gotcha.
They rode the bench, though. My number 4, your number 5, David, the Zoo Crew over at Mizzou.
Okay.
Same reasons. Like you said, they get rowdy. They know how to have a good time and bring the noise when it's needed.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's a really good one. And like I said, the only teams that they lost to last year in Mizzou Arena were tournament teams. So, those are teams that, are good to begin with. So you're not going to lose to an opponent who is inferior to you when you got a student section that's behind you, even when you're having a bad night. So that's a lot of props to that home court advantage. My number 3 is I picked the Trough. This is my student section. I am, my Razorbacks. Arkansas's Trough is an absolute party every game. And they are an incredibly creative student section. As long as I can remember, you're talking about bringing FBI jackets when Will Wade showed up for LSU. They have the Boo This Guy at the Bud Twitter account, which, picks on a player the entire game that they are there. And every time they touch the basketball, there starts booing happening. And of course, then you got Shark and Saw, which is a reference to a B horror movie called Shark and Saw Women's Prison. So a bunch of students just show up in a bunch of blue, shark costumes that all look like Left Shark from Katy Perry's, Super Bowl performance. And the student section throws down whenever you get the William Tell, Hey Jude mixture together. Arkansas was 14-3 last year at home. Their only losses at home, very similar situation to Mizzou, were only against NCAA tournament teams. So, the same kind of reference. The Trough always brings it. And like I said, as long as I've been there, they've been consistently showing up. It does not matter how bad that team is. The student section consistently shows up unless it's like December 24th and no one's in town whatsoever. That's like the only scenario I've not seen the Trough fill up. So it's a high it's a high energy student section. It's one that I enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. So my number 3, we've got the Jungle at Auburn. Pretty consistent in research that they were the top either 1, 2, or 3 team. Kind of similar with Tennessee. They don't seem to show up as much on the down years. Definitely one of those teams that the game's not going their way. It seems that they leave a little bit early. But other than that, flawless execution from the Jungle over at Auburn. Always filling up the seats. They have, I believe they had the most amount of Twitter followers. No, second most amount of Twitter followers. So that was a big push as well. You you got to get your fans where they're at. So
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. That's a good pick. My number 2 is the Eruption Zone. Kentucky has had one of the best atmospheres in college basketball, and the fact we don't have them ranked number 1 might actually offend several Kentucky fans. But the environment is incredible. The student section is incredibly passionate. The Eruption Zone is currently 4 to 5,000 strong. They reduced their student section. There's actually less student seats now at Kentucky, which is part of the need that I felt to move them down at number 2, is because the university moved in a different direction with the size of their student section, which is something I don't like. So I'm moving that. Students come first. I'm just saying, it's, you can sell the rest of the tickets, but students deserve tickets, man. Don't make their zones smaller. But build a bigger arena. Don't take away their seats. But for Kentucky, I've got them number 2. It's one of the all-time great student sections that is a very competitive building whenever you go in to play at Rupp. You don't hear it maybe all the time on TV because of the way producers have sounds built up, but it is loud in there. I promise you, the Rupp Center and the Eruption Zone go hand in hand. It's a great scenario. And historically, Kentucky student section has been one of the craziest in the SEC.
All right, for my number 2, we got the Trough. Following it up with David.
Okay.
I picked the Trough at number 2 just because, it may be a little more personal. They're one of the only student sections I've seen in person, but like you said, they always bring it. There's always so much energy. And what other arena do you see players literally plugging their ears because it's so loud?
It's great. I mean, that's you just got to love everything, Arkansas student section. I mean, we've talked about them a little bit when mine. But like I said, they don't let their team down. And when in Fayetteville, they do not let that team down. It's always brought by the student section. They bring it every single game, and you got to love that.
I mean, and Bud Walton Arena is one of the only ones that I see consistently, like broadcasters saying, people that just come to visit saying that it's the loudest arena that they've been in, and they say that for a reason. It's not a fluke. You have almost everybody that comes to visit talk about it because it's just an absolutely electric feeling. And a big part of that is the student section.
Oh, 100%. The students bring a lot of that energy. You got to love the Bud. We're consistently ranked in the top 30 in best home court environments in the country. So like I said, the Trough is a big reason behind that, and they bring it every single game. My number 1 is I picked the Jungle. And this is going to go back. I'm glad you had Arkansas too, not because you ranked them there necessarily, because it actually goes into a little bit of what I was going to talk about with the Jungle. When you see a fan base or writers really who follow beat write for Arkansas on a consistent basis, and they talk about a student section emulating the student section at Arkansas in the 90s, that has been a reference to talk about the Jungle before. There have been writers who with Arkansas background saying, the Jungle has a lot of the energy that the Arkansas had in the 90s. Now, Auburn over the last few years has forced their way really into this top 5. And I think no matter how you ordered this list, Auburn has to be in the top 5 somewhere. If this was an all-time list, I would not have Auburn number 1 for an all-time. But over the Pearl years, Auburn's student section has been intense. It's raised themselves to be one of the most famous student sections in the country. And like I said, when you've got a very prominent student section and their beat writers coming out and saying, take note, this is what Bud used to be like in the 90s. That's the Jungle right now. And it's probably, I think, and arguably probably the loudest and craziest student section in the SEC. Now, there's going to be some competition in that. It's the margin's not, but I think right now, Auburn set themselves apart as bringing a lot of that same energy that was in Arkansas in the 90s and trying to build the culture behind Bruce Pearl in Neville Arena.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the only disadvantage, and one of the reasons I had Auburn a little further down my list, is it's a smaller arena, so it's going to be easier.
It is a smaller arena.
Yeah, it's gonna be easier to make it seem bigger than it actually is.
Yeah, it's playing in an echo chamber, really. That was the goal with the Moody Center too, in Texas when they put that together, was to make it a little bit more intimate, between the fans and the players. But I've got Auburn number 1. I'm gonna stand by that right now. That's no disrespect to Kentucky or the Trough. Like, I think honestly, there's a reasonable argument to mix those 3 anywhere in the top 3, in my opinion.
Speaking of that, I have got the Eruption Zone and Big Blue Nation as my number 1 pick. as you said, there was a little bit of a downfall with the school downsizing the student section, but that's not the students' fault.
Not the students' fault, no.
Kentucky's just being a little greedy, trying to get a little bit more money. But similar to Arkansas, you always see them bring it. You're not going to go to a quiet Kentucky game, no matter if it's preseason, I bet if they sold tickets, people are traveling to Canada to watch Team USA, aka Team Kentucky, Germany, Canada, and Africa. So, one of those student sections, you're not going to get away from them.
No, absolutely not. And you mentioned the going to Toronto and representing. I'm just saying right now, this is probably going to be the first time in the history of the South that a bunch of people didn't cheer for Team USA. There's going to be a lot of fan bases like, no, it's Kentucky. Forget them. That's going to be absolutely hilarious. It's like watching fans from other fan bases go Team Germany. That's going to happen.
And then also another big contributor to my number one pick. Out of the student section Twitter accounts that I could find and Instagram accounts, Big Blue Nation had over 36,000 followers.
Oh, wow. That's a considerable margin. Obviously Kentucky is a big brand in basketball, so it's not a shock to see so many people following the student section out there. Like I said, they're creative, they're fun. You got to love Kentucky's energy when it comes to game time. Those students bring it. And you know what? That's probably what they look forward to most all years, getting a chance to cut out a little studying and just lose their minds in the student section, and that's fun. I like this list. Like I said, I think you can rearrange several of these and find where they need to go at. I would say out of the top three from the SEC, respectively, they probably belong somewhere in the top 20 in the country right now. Depending on where you put them. Obviously, you got the Cameron Indoor Crazies, which is one of the best student sections. Pittsburgh's got a fantastic student section. There's a lot of amazing ones around the country to kind of go look into. I remember Arizona State put on the craziest display I think I've ever seen when someone was delivering a baby, like jokingly, delivering a baby while the player was shooting free throws. So that was pretty funny. There's some creative ones out there, and it's some of
the infamous Arkansas moon picture.
Yeah, but that wasn't in the student section. That was a dude. That was just some dude just decided to drop his pants while a Kentucky player was taking free throws. To quote Baker Mayfield slightly, Bud Walton, it'll get you. You see environments like that across college basketball. You're never going to see that in the NBA. So, it's part of the thing that makes college basketball so great are these unique, fun environments, in my opinion.
Exactly. So, David, I think as we rank these student sections, we definitely need to go see some games outside of BWA and check it out, so we have a little bit more concrete evidence to go off.
Well, obviously, I'm going to be saving a lot of money when it comes to football season this year because we have an entire month where Arkansas is not playing at home because, just quite frankly, the SEC hates us. And
that's the truth.
But yeah, it's so I'll be saving quite a bit of money anywhere that I can on tickets this football season, clearly. So I'll be able to plan a couple more trips to go to see some different environments this year because I'll have the money to be able to go see somewhere. Hopefully law school doesn't keep me confined too much to Fayetteville over the summer, and we get not over the summer, the school year, and I get to go see a couple different basketball games in a few different locations.
Hopefully we get some good weekend games in this year. With my new job, can't really get off outside of work days. So me and you, Saturdays, tell Avery, sorry, it's a date.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll let my wife know. She'll probably come and join us.
Yeah, come with us. That'll be fun.
Come with us. It'll be fun. We'll go sit in some nosebleeds. And
to be honest, sometimes it's like you're the third wheel when me and Avery are together. So it's fine.
It's totally fine. I've learned this is that like Avery is very much like, socializing at the game, talking to friends, wanting to go check out the food that's at the stadium. I was like, oh, I want to go get one of those sugar, funnel hot dog thingies that they have over there or whatever. Oh, they got a Slim's Chickens over here. They got a Wrights in this stadium, things like that. I'm talking about Bud and Razorback Stadium at this, but that's her sporting events is that she wants to go check out the food. She wants to go check out the things that are going on over here. I am like, I'm at a game. Like I am watching the game. Like you are like there are two things I want: a beer, a beer, a dog, and the game. Like those are that's
like I think if we really wanted to up our subscribers, we sit and record like live stream you and Avery at a game, because she is 100% like into whatever the student section is doing, singing whatever songs on, and you're just zoned in. Like
just
you're
very
here.
much like, okay, move the ball.
And
there.
if you aren't there on our game, you're scrolling to find highlights from another game.
Yeah, I'm checking scores. Like, we're taking a break. I'm like checking scores. I was like, what's happening across everywhere else? Like trying to keep up with situations. Like, I'm into the game. I am into the sport. Like, some people love the environment. I am there to watch basketball.
we need a Dave Reed TikTok.
We do that. Like we've talked about this before. Is like we've always thought our first podcast idea together should have been just like we put a camera when we used to drive from Kansas City home to visit family. Is that we should have just put a camera in the car and just listened to all the crazy conversations me and my wife have, because we have two different perspectives on everything. And that would have been a lot of fun, I think, too. But yeah, we're just the way we are.
And we love you guys for it.
No, well, thank you. Thank you. Again, you got one more week of producing. I'm surprised you have not taken my wife and trapped her on this podcast yet for an episode. I know you have this idea that you've been throwing around for a while, concerning SEC coaches and mascots. As weird as that was, that idea is like,
I mean, I said that I would do it if it was also including like the football coaches for, is it the Notre Dame coach? If he was included, I would play.
Okay. I can see that. I can understand that. I know Avery had talked about wanting to kill Spike from Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
The inflatable mascot. Yeah. Yep. The thing's horrifying. I agree with her. It's a terrifying mascot. It's as bad as Boss Hog here in Fayetteville. Like, inflatable mascots should not exist. So like that's just a fact. Like that's just something that should not exist, is inflatable mascots.
I mean, we did have like a whole section of like nonsense on, I don't even remember if it was ESPN or what, that one of the commentators in Boss Hog like got into it.
Yes, I can't remember his name, but he's on ESPN, especially
Is he still on ESPN after all these fires?
Yeah.
He make the
cut. No, he made it.
Okay.
He was on the draft. He was dressed in the boots and the jorts in San Antonio for the announcement that Wembanyama had been drafted. He normally does a lot of things in the SEC network. I cannot think of his name right now, but I know exactly who you're talking about, because Boss Hog spilled coffee on him at BWA at some point. I was clearly at that game because I did not witness that on television, but like I knew what was the situation later because people had told me, and then I watched the apology episode, or the apology game down the road. The apology episode, it's down the road. Speaking of episodes, real quick, we're going to real fast tell you what we got going on here at Hoop Southbound. First off, so if you have not noticed, on the TikTok or on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube shorts, we have put together these little 1-minute videos for you guys to digest a little bit of information 4 times a week. The plan is to have them released Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They are just snippets, about 3 headlines a day on some of the top news in the SEC. That is annoying. I'm so sick of that cough whenever I get it. And then the second thing is that currently I have begun the editing process on College Basketball 201. It is going to be a ton of fun. These are going to be topics that are a little bit more obscure or specific, really might be the better word, for college basketball, and rather than like basketball in general. They'll be focusing on topics like explaining how the net works, and things like that. It's not everybody needs to watch this kind of thing, but it's perfect if you need like a refresher, or you got a friend that you're trying to explain something to who may be new to the sport, something like that. They're kind of an evergreen content kind of thing, and they're going to sit on our YouTube channel available. And then also I developed some cartoon characters. And I have a friend who's a professional voice actor who has said that he will voice those cartoon characters for the College Basketball 201. We'll see how creative he gets. It's a good time for him to do it. He's a pro, and he knows a lot of like live stage stuff too. But it's currently out of season for him. there in Branson. Once Christmas hits, that's when he starts getting his big gig monies. So, or big money gigs. Now's a good time to hit him up and be like, hey man, you want to do some voice work? All right, everybody, we'll catch you next time.
All right. Y'all have a good week.